Welcome to Ritual Scale Modelling. This is part 5 of AMT's Star Trek USS Enterprise. Scale is 1 to 650. Now this build is for the Constitution class, but it's a what if build, so it's just a bit of fun, and I'm going to be doing the Constitution class ship in a slightly different way, hence the Tartan title. So in part 5, I'm going to be carrying on with placing the lights in. So I've already done the saucer section, so it's time to move on to the secondary hull. So let's jump into this and see how well I get on. But before I get into that, there was something I forgot to mention in the last video. The clear perspex for the nacelles, I used a clear lacquer as a varnish, and I just sprayed that over it to set everything in. Now, as you can see here, I'm prepping the hull. I'm going to be cementing these together in the normal way. Now, these have to go together now so that I'm able to fit the shuttle bay. Now, the instructions obviously say put the bottom on first and the sides, but because I'm putting lights and everything in, this is the best way to do it. Just do the upper part of the secondary hull first before I move on with the build. I'm placing in the shuttle bay doors here. Now the fit is not very good at all for these. It sits far too low inside the hull. It should be raised slightly higher than it is. If I can put it on the top section there, you can see how it should be. But if I put it in how they want it, it's far too low. So I'm going to have to build that up so it sits properly. So I've got a bit of plastic card here, and while I'm building up, I thought, well, I may as well put a bracing as well to help with any light bleed coming through. So this is going to be a backing plate for the shuttle bay area. So I'm just going to trace around the area so that I know how much I need to cut. And then I'll just roughly cut the area that I need to. I don't have to put any finesse in this whatsoever. I just need the basic shape. And then once I've done that, I've trimmed it all down, marry it up into the part, you can see there. And then I'm just cutting it down to length so it's going to fit inside the hull. And as I said, there's no finesse with this, just a little cut along the straight edge and snap it off so it'll fit inside the hull. Now I'm securing this with a bit of sprue glue. Now the reason why I'm using sprue glue and not normal cement is because there may be some gaps here, and the thicker sprue glue will help close up any gaps so there won't be any paint bleed coming through. And then it's just a simple case of popping it in and waiting for it to set. So while that sets, I'm going back to the saucer section. I've got a little bit of light bleed here, particularly where the impulse engines are. So I'm using some Villaggio plastic putty, and just to sort out the paint bleed. Now it's only a very small crack. It looks larger than on camera than it actually really is. So just a small bead of the putty takes care of it. It's back to the nacelles, and I'm using micro crystal clear to cement the clear part in. Now the reason why I'm using the crystal clear is because there may be some gaps on the clear part, and this will actually act as a filler as well, similar to the spray glue, but also this dries perfectly clear. So it would just fill in any unsightly gap. And then once I place the clear part in, I'm just going to use a couple of clamps to hold it down. This is because they really need clamps here, because the shape of the nacelle, it doesn't run 100% straight, so it's got to bend into the contours of the nacelle itself. So this will take a good little while to dry. You want to leave it at least 2 hours to make sure it's completely cured. Now it's back to the secondary hull, and I'm just opening up a hole for the wires to come through. This will be the main access point for the holes. Now I've still haven't decided on what stand I'm going to use, whether I'll use the one that's provided with the kit or make something up myself. Still haven't decided, but I'm putting in the standard hole that you generally see in these Star Trek kits, where they will receive a hollow rod to hold the wires. I can then start threading through the wires, and before placing in the LED strip. Now I didn't film me building up the platform for the landing bay, but it was just a series of little pieces of plastic just to give me that level and cemented them in. The light strip here, I've soldered the contact points from the middle to the end. That's just to give me more maneuverability on the actual wire when I thread it through. I've also left a bare metal part on two of the lead wires. You can just about see it on my next to my hand there. That's just to give me my contact point. So I'm just trimming up here a bit of the plastic card, so I haven't got too much runoff. And it's quite important that I get this in the correct position, because this is not only going to be lighting up the secondary hull, the wires are then going to be getting connected to the warp nacelles as well from down where the struts are. So I have to make sure it's exactly in the position I need it to be. And because I put the LED strip on a piece of plastic card, it's very easy to attach. I'm just using normal cement and then attaching it that way. So again, this behaves like any plastic card. Through cement, I'll bond it, weld in, bond it. It just saves mucking about with super glue, and it makes sure that you get a perfect bond. And then once that's in, I can place on the shuttle bay doors. That just sits onto the little platform that I made. So you can see it sitting in its correct position now. It's not too high, it's not too low. You still have the little ridge on the shuttle bay doors, and you can see the whole shuttle bay now, instead of being completely sunken in. So it's now time to place in the wires for the warp nacelles. Now, I'm just cutting off two lengths here. These are overly long. I don't actually need them to be this long as such. But I always like to give myself a lot more than I need, just in case I need to trim down or there's some error or something. It just gives you that bit of leeway in case anything goes wrong. So I've thread wire through the openings that I made earlier on in the previous video. So it's time now to start making the connection points. And I'm just using my tweezers there as a guide, and all I'm going to be doing is nicking the sheath of the wire. Now, if you're doing it like me, be extremely careful, because you can quite easily open up your finger. In fact, I've done it on several occasions. How I do it is, I wouldn't recommend it, but this is just how I do it. I place the blade on the sheath and gently drag it around, and until I feel the blade touching the wire inside, then I gently prise the sheath apart. For me, that's the best way to do it. There's tools there that you can do to strip wire back. I would recommend that instead of doing it the way I do it, because obviously you don't want to slice open your finger. I just happen to have had years of practice doing it that way, and I'm too set in my ways not to do it properly. And now that I've got the both lengths and exposed the wire, it's time to make the connections. So the negative onto negative, obviously, and this is connected just by twisting around onto my main runoff from the LED strip. And once it's in place, I will secure it with a little bit of solder. And what I'm looking here for is a sort of cross section like this. Each point then gets led into each strut of the nacelle, so hence why it's stretching over. So once I'm happy that I know it's going to be fine, it's time to secure that joint, as I said, with a little bit of solder. And then in turn, cover up the joints with a bit of electrical tape. Now there is sheaths in that, of course, you can use to seal this up to make it look better. But because it's like a cross joint, it's easier just to use a bit of electrical tape. And once I'm happy with the connections, it's time to close up the hull. The first thing I do, well, the second thing, because I've cleaned up the contact points, is to thread the wire through each strut port. So if you remember, that's all the little holes I made for the where the struts go in. So there's not a lot of room here. So you have to be wary of this. So hence why I built it the way I have. You can quite quickly run it around when you've got so many wires running everywhere. So it's better to be a little bit organized and know exactly how you're going to plan out your wiring system. So now that they're in, I'm just gently pulling the wires through, tugging them in and closing up the hull. Now, once it's almost in position, that's only then I'll start adding the cement, because, as I said, with this, like the saucer section, you don't want to be really pulling these wires too hard and breaking connections. You have to be very gentle at this point. I'll just be gentle, as I said, and if you feel that you'd be better just cementing small areas at a time, then moving on, do that. That's what I do as well. Sometimes I don't cement all in one go. I'll just add a lot of cement, bit of cement, secure it, then move on to the next part. Sometimes it's easier that way and you have more control. And this is where I'll end part 5. Especially a good idea to do it that way if you've got multiple connections coming through different areas of your build. So you can see there, I've opened it up slightly just so that I can get better access to put in the wires going to connect the saucer section up. I almost forgot to do that, so I was lucky that I caught it in time. If I hadn't done that, I would have still been able to connect it. It just would have been a lot of faffing around connecting the wire through the hole. Because the neck's at an angle, the wire doesn't automatically push up into the area where you want it to be. But it is easy enough. Well, it's not easy enough. It is doable if you do forget. But it's ideal to place them in before you close up the hull. I'm at the stage of the build now where everything has to wait a good couple of hours to cure before I can move on to the next step. So this is a good place to end it. So if you haven't done so already, why don't you check out the channel for my other builds? I'm sure there's something there that can interest you. If not, let me know and I'll see what I can do. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and if you do, please hit the notification bell. That way you'll be kept up to date, not only with this build but all my future builds as well, of course. Don't be afraid to leave a comment, hit that like button, and of course you can share the video. But for now, thank you all very much for watching. Bye bye.